We are the next generation
of the Mangrove 9.
and tonight we have some special guests on the show. I mean, soul UK legends. And if you don't know, you definitely don't know, because these are some serious legends on the show, UK legends. We're going to start off by letting them introduce themselves and tell you a bit about themselves. So we're going to start from the top. And at the top of me, I'm going to go with Carl McIntosh from the Loose Ends. I'm sure everybody knows. So Carl, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Carl from the group Loose Ends, and I'm from London, from England, and I'm here to talk about some of my experiences in the industry.
Thank you, Carl. And on the other side, to me, is Noel McKoy. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, sisters. Yes, my name is Noel McKoy. I'm a singer-songwriter, producer, actor, and I've been doing this sort of stuff for many years, over 40. And I reside in the UK born. And yeah.
And try and open this up now. So I'm going to let Jamila start off with the first question. So Jamila, do you want to throw the first question at one of the guys?
Yeah, and our first question, let me say, Noel, can I ask you the first question?
Yeah, sure.
What inspired you? First of all, what inspired you or influenced you in your creativity in soul? Who was your inspirations? What started you?
My inspirations were my mother and my aunt Barbara. They were singers. Well, my aunt Barbara was signed to Decca Records. So when we go to their houses, my mum and her would break out into harmony, and I'd be so amazed as a little kid, maybe 3, 4. And that carried on for a few years. So by the time I was 6, 7, kind of knew what I wanted to do, because I was singing for my family by then, playing the piano. My mum all of us played piano. Back in the day, every house had a piano. So yeah, that was my inspiration, my mother and my aunt.
Was it a group, a family affair?
Yeah, at one point, my sister, my eldest sister, she got us, after the Jackson 5, she'd line us up whether we wanted to do it or not. You'd be Tita, you're that. She'd tell us who we are, and we had to be very disciplined because she don't play. So I always remember that. I used to like it after a while, but yeah, that was a memory.
After a while, so do you mean there's some duress that you were in there?
Yes, too disciplined.
Yeah, there's always duress. The eldest, you want to be playing soldiers or something with your brother, and she's just pulling you away. You got to sing in harmony. But you know what? I look back on that now, and I say to myself, that was a great experience in discipline. She obviously knew that she was kind of almost militant. She was, but it was discipline. And yeah, she's one of my biggest inspirations as well, because she's helped me a lot, my older sister, to this day.
And the other thing to that was, did anybody in school, because we're very keen, especially for the younger generation, to understand how people, what their experiences were, who were singers, depending on what the industry is. And school always had a major factor in it, in one sense. Family and school, any kind of, mentors along the way. And how did you find with school? Did they pick, music lessons or music teacher? Did you find that they picked up on anything or were engaged?
Oh yeah. I started saxophone lessons in the first year. Stopped doing it because the reed, which you blow through, it's made of wood, and it's very fine, and you have to replace them. The teacher would let me blow on his reed, and after I should have done it the first, but after maybe 3 sessions, I told my mum. She said, "No, I've got to go back," because she shouldn't have let me use the reed as opposed to getting the reed, because I could have got one. And in terms of the question, the school was pivotal in my growth as a musician, because after the second year, the music teachers who were the head teachers, they left. And another guy came called Mr. Johnson, and he happened to be a black brother as well, and he happened to have a whole heap of soul. He was also classically taught. He could play every instrument, even brass as well. And he would give us time to rehearse after school, and eventually we played for all the different houses in the school. and we did a film on us. We were called the Albions. You know, so the band the Albions I was with was started in Spencer Park School, the secondary school I went to, and we went on till I was about 18. The band went on to do many things as session players. So yeah, the school pivotal, yeah.
All right.
Good. And what school, what area did you grow up in?
I grew up in Wandsworth, the area of Wandsworth in South London.
So you're
South
Southie.
South London.
Yeah, can't you tell?
So Carl,
Well, I do want to guess, but you know.
so Carl, so
Yeah.
where did you, when did you kind of start out? At what kind of age, or when you was a child? When did you say to yourself, right, I'm going to be a singer, or I'm going to, start playing an instrument? Sometimes, did you know from a young age that you was going to be someone, make it out there, or is it something you kind of fell into and went ahead with?
When I was, I think 11, the school. when I was in school, I was about 11. First of all, a couple of things were happening. I had very romantic parents, and they used to have a lot of parties, and they loved music, and they used to love to argue as well, right? But my dad used to play Isaac Hayes. When they had an argument, my dad would play some Isaac Hayes to try and show my mom, say, check out that music, yeah. So me feel no,
Sounds like home.
Yeah, my mom would just,
my home.
yeah, my mom would be kissing her teeth and just. And then when he hit the right tune, now when he dropped the Marvin Gaye, right, that's when my mom puts her hand up in the air, and then before you know it, their bedroom door's closed.
Right.
That's how I grew up.
Power of music.
So they like to make up, don't they? They like the making up more than that. They like to argue so they can make up.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's how it started at home, and I never really realized it until we got to school, and I don't know. I think it was in we had one of these power cuts, and in the power cut, we was all in the assembly, and I was taking a mick out of Chuck Berry, and I sung My Ding-a-Ling, right? And before I knew it, the whole school went quiet. The whole assembly all went quiet, and they was all watching me sing My Ding-a-Ling, right? And I didn't really realize it, how much of it, because I had my back to the rest of the people. And when I finished it, right, I hear clapping, right? So then the next thing that happened, right, the headmaster, he said, just as I was going into the assembly the next day, I think it was a Friday, it was kind of the last week of being in that school. And one of the teachers said, I think they're going to ask you to sing that song, right? So song. And then lo and behold, the teacher said, we're going to have a bit of a laugh, and we're going to get Mr. McIntosh to come up here and sing My Ding-a-Ling. So I went up and sung My Ding-a-Ling, and the whole place was in tears laughing. It's a funny song, right? And plus, I didn't even realize what the guy was talking about. I was a kid, And then it started from there, really. After that, I went to the new school and started doing guitar lessons. And the guitar guy that was teaching me, he wasn't a proper teacher. He was I think he's a bit of a drug addict. Now I'm looking back on it. Because he used to sweat and he'd be playing the cello, and he was brilliant, but he wasn't together, man, and nervous, he would be sweating on his nose and his hands shaking, and I was like, this guy's on drugs, right, or something. But he was a genius, and he showed me a lot of good chords and stuff. And then the room that he was doing the guitar lessons in was in our attic, and I never even seen that room before. But turns out there was another room adjacent to it, and that had all the instruments in it. And so I was hanging out there one day, and the teacher came up there and he told me off for being up in that area. And guess what my punishment was? Clean out the music room. So I said, what? When I went in there, I said, boy, they got guitar.
It's like a haven.
So I was like, every day, man. My whole lunchtime was in that room. So
Whereabouts do you come from? What area?
Oh, I'm from Hackney.
Oh, okay. So we've got the east,
Oh,
and
east and south. Okay, it's got
Yeah.
east, south, and west.
Yeah, yeah.
spread out. That's good.
I live in South now, but I'm from
Oh,
Hackney.
okay.
I'm from North London, actually, from North Middlesex Hospital. I'm from Tottenham and then moved to Hackney.
Oh,
But
okay.
I grew up in Hackney.
So you originate
Okay.
from North London, but a lot of people go from north to the east.
Yeah, I don't know what that
And then-
is.
And then they end up in west. 'cause you know
No,
you got
went from the
you got
south to
Broad
the northwest to the west.
I think I've
I
lived
went from
everywhere.
west to the south.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm in south now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm
It's kind of new to me. I don't really know south, but yeah, I'm a West Londoner, a Grove.
Oh, really?
Grove anyway. We come from Ladbroke Grove. Yeah.
Come from Grove, yeah?
Yeah, I'm
Ladbroke
born
in
and bred
Ladbroke Grove.
I'm born and bred also in Grove, Paddington. I'm proper. Forget people like Ishmael and all that. No, not really.
I'm a West 10, West 11 proper.
Okay.
Ladbroke Grove, Latimer.
I used to live in West End.
Portobello, R6 Roads, girl. Like,
Okay.
growing up. Yeah, we grew up.
Them ones.
Yeah, you have to say it like that. Yeah.
But then again, Portobello, to be honest, Portobello was, for me, growing up, it was the place for music. You know, I think that's where everybody came for music. It was Portobello. That's why I met most people was down there. I even met, I'm sure I met you in Portobello, no?
I met you.
Around, the Portobello hanging out,
Definitely,
wine bars.
Yeah.
We went to the wine bars and everything used to happen. It used to be the place for music, artists. Well, I met
but
Ron,
also,
Ronnie.
Also, you know when
Diverse.
Dougie and them lot come through,
The hip hop.
MC, NSO and Trim and all of them, they all came through, and then Subterranean was the magnet, was the new magnet.
Yeah.
Compared to
Definitely.
maybe 20 years before that, which was the
And
Rio.
no, and the Iron Bar. Do you remember the Iron Bar? No, when you used
Oh yeah,
to
Iron Bar.
your nights. Is it the Dutch
Great
pub?
nights. Yes, those are
You called them open. It was an open mic.
It was an open mic at the Iron Bar, and then I do the singer-songwriter night at the Subterranean.
Oh yeah, I
So-
remember. You used to
Okay.
make me
That's
go up on the mic and open it up and say, "Go on, you can." It's like you can make it all like, warm it up again, and I'd have to get on the mic every time and do rapping and everything for no.
Oh, wicked.
Do you remember to get so that?
yeah, man. Come on, that's what I do, innit? It's about it's like a conveyor belt of art, continuous live music, like singers, players. I love doing that. I used to love doing that.
Yeah, used to be good.
And it's a funny thing is that we need that so much because the live stuff is what gives you the energy. I mean, going back to young people, I feel so sorry for them because they don't have the same, one is the same exposure, but they don't have the same live, real energy.
Yeah, the interaction.
When your vibes in, as musicians, you're collectively getting together, and not necessarily knowing each other, but you hit a note, you start jamming together, and the next thing you know, you're forming it in a little song, but it's all kind of organic and natural. The young people don't really. The only time they're vibes in these days is if they're lucky they get studio time, and they're all in the studio, and that's it.
They're social media vibing.
Yep.
So Carl, how did you? So we know that like as a young age, you said you got into the music and you started to sing, and by then you must have thought to yourself, you're in the, that's the kind of role you want to go into. Or maybe you went into something else. I don't know. But I know, like, is it in the 80s? Is that when you got with like Loose Ends?
How did you formulate Loose Ends?
Like how did you kind of get together with that?
Well, what it was, I was telling you earlier, I was a bass player, and just playing bass basically. I used to play 8 hours a day, every day, and I joined groups. But sometimes I'd join a group, and I could sing a little bit as well. So, and I used to play percussion. So I didn't realize all of this was building up to something. It was like I was playing bass really because the guy that I was in a band with was a great guitarist. So he was better than me. So I play bass. And then after a while, my mum wouldn't just have me being just the bass player. I'd have to justify where all this time and effort was going.
And money.
And money. And she ain't helping me financially unless she can see I'm really, gonna so I'd have to practice a lot. And I ended up being all right. Yeah. So she would be like, if you're gonna be a dustbin man, you better be the best,
Yeah, exactly. That's my line.
It's a thing with black people, and it's not just us. I know people in America say the same thing. And I think the reason why they say that is because they know you're going to be up against a whole bunch of suppression and stuff. But it works, you know. And I did practice, and then I was I think I was in a reggae group called Scatter Rock, and then I was in another reggae group called Black Chalice, and then I was I had a few jazz funk groups. One was called Mint Condition, not the famous Mint Condition. My one was in the 80s.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Mine was 70s.
Yeah.
And then you know, just basically I had another group. Can't remember the name of my funk group, but we had a group called Uptown People. I was about 7 groups, right? Just all, you know, building myself up, you know, learning to work with other people. And then I was also in my school, we were starting to develop musical skills in school. And we had this girl that in our school that could sing, and we didn't realize it. She was a little African girl. And she got up one day and sung "Where Is Love," and she made the whole place cry. You know, everyone was, this girl's voice was just pure, you know, she's beautiful. So that girl was Gina Di Bambo, and she went on to do reggae songs. So then a couple of us was
name I've had for a while.
She was, a couple of us was dealing with Black Slate and you know, dealing with them type of groups there. Black Chalice, there's a couple of guys in my class that went on to I think he's got a group at the moment, a dub group, very big dub group worldwide. I can't remember the name. It come to me in a bit, but you know, there was guys in my class and they were doing music as well, and we would go to the music lesson and it would be classical. We don't know nothing about classical, and we start playing with the hi-hats. They give you this big cymbal thing that you crash together when the orchestra plays. We just took the lever out and put a drumstick in the middle and just and then that would be our drums. And so then man just start on the piano, and then you know, before you know it, we're making songs, and that's how Gene and all these people start to come up, you know. And so Gina Di Bambo, I kind of had a bit of a thing for her, and I was crushing heavy on. I think her voice was just doing something to me, you know. And no, for real, I didn't realize it, but it was really bad, because eventually I was starting to go around her ass, and her mom know me, and I know her brother, and I start to be that guy, you know, and not really going out with her, but you know, just kind of that guy that, you know, the mom says, "Oh, Carl's a nice boy," you know.
The friend, you in the friend zone.
Yeah, definitely.
Trying to break through.
Yeah.
But one day now, I made a mistake. I went and kind of showed her that I got certain vibes for her, and went wrong, man. Because she's kind of tall, right? And she just said, "But Carl, if we were dancing, I'd be towering over you." I'm so sorry. My man would have to be at least 6 foot. You know, so it was like, boy. I went home, and when I went home, I wrote 3 songs, right? One was called Dial 999. You know why that song was written there? Another one was called Choose Me. Another one was called Choose Me. And then another one was called No Stranger to Darkness. And stick a pin on that, because I didn't use them songs until I met Jane and Steve, right? So I basically was starting to write now. That episode brought me into, I'm putting down pen to paper now, right? So, but I still wasn't using it. I was still a bass player. I'm playing in this funk group, and I get a phone call that some group wants you to come and play bass with them. So Jane and Steve was already together, all right? They was already loose ends, and they were, you know, I think Steve was a very good looking man, you know, so I think he blagged.
Yeah, I remember thinking he was a good looking man back then.
Yeah.
Most women, most even guys, come on.
Yeah, no, he's a serious looker. I mean, you'd be in a conversation with Steve, and girls would just be walking up to him, writing out their number in front of him, and just not saying a word and walking off. I'd be like, wow, I've never seen that before. But that's how he had it. So he would black studio time and tell people he had a group. And he got far with it. But the only problem with Steve at that point was that he was making these great songs. He had jazz and everything, but he wasn't writing for the singer. You know what I mean? So we'll stick a pin on that, because eventually when me and him get together, that starts happening. But
that's when the magic, Lord.
Yeah. So basically he wanted a bass player, and he was practicing in Brixton, in a man's house. I don't know if you know where that skate park is.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Stockwell.
Stockwell, yeah.
You know the man, that's where we used to rehearse, man.
No way.
Yeah, we used to rehearse then we were youths, bro. Because he soundproofed it all, his front room, everything.
A flat, you know, girls, I kid you not, it's a flat. This man has put carpet around all the walls in my drum booth.
Yeah, man.
I've never seen nothing like it in all my life, but that's where Steve was rehearsing. So I went there and I auditioned, but them lot couldn't really play. I mean, it was Steve could play, but the drummer was all over the place, and they had some models in the room, and you know, and it was just there's this dark-skinned girl in the corner that looked like maybe it was Steve's girlfriend or something, because she didn't really communicate with anyone but him.
Okay.
So I just played along. Yeah. Right. So then, and that's it. That's really how it began. So I don't want to. I can go on forever with it, right? So let me just stop there, because that really was the beginning.
Of the beginning of Loose Ends.
Yeah, because
that's where the magic happened, as they said.
Well, what happened was with the bass and guitar thing. I said to him, I play a bit guitar as well. So, and there was a guitar in the room. So I picked up the guitar in the room and just showed him one or two little jazz things, you know, little progressions. And I see him nod his head and say, oh, okay, all right. So then after that now, I told him, the drummer, is that your drummer? I said, he's like, yeah. I said, well, okay. Because, you know, he's not really holding it down there.
He's not on it.
Yeah. So the next time I came, because he called me back again. And the next time I came, it was just me, Jane, and Steve. Just the three of us. So I said, where's everyone else? Because the girls, they couldn't really sing either, but they looked wicked. And then the drummer, he was a bit pretty as well. He had the diamond cut jumper, the chain.
Oh, I remember those jumpers.
Yeah. He had the yellow, and then they had the brown diamonds on it. And he looked crisp, but couldn't hold the beat. So Steve kind of figured it out, and I think he went with the three of us. And that's really how it started.
Professional now. Let's got to step up a bit, because Carl's in the house. What about you, Noel? Because I know you're, well, from what I remember going back in the 80s, was the McCoy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, with the family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we.
Actually, I've got that record. I've got Loose Ends, and I've also got that song as well. That was
we had as well. Yeah.
So how did that all come about for you? Because we know that you just said that your auntie and stuff was kind of schooling you, like a bit like Michael Jackson, getting you in there, seeing talent from young. But when
my aunt and my
you wrote that song, didn't you?
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah. So how did that come about with the sisters and brothers and deciding, right, we're going to make this tune and we're going to go out there and be a family group?
Well, I'd say, I mentioned earlier, my older sister putting us together. That had an effect on us, because we love music just like you. All families, you know, you get together when you're top of the pops, you know, you're all singing, dancing. And I think that seed my sister planted, it somewhere, and you know, it said that it can happen. So we would, me and my brothers, we play guitar and sing and stuff. And my sister was married to the bass player in Matumbi. So from 12, 13 years old, showed us how to play chords and stuff. So music was being played, the piano was there, we were playing. So it was inevitable something was going to happen. But through my run-ins in the school band and that, left that band, started a band in the early 80s, a rock band called Impact, which we just recorded stuff. We did a few gigs, but it's more a studio band where we recorded maybe 8 albums, and that's what I learned. We all learned how to arrange and stuff. How to conduct yourself in the studio. For me, in the studio booth, because it's a different kind of head. If you're going to do a tape, I've been taught by Dennis Babel, Running Water, all the Matumbi lot, really push you hard, you know. but I swear I give thanks to it, because they're like hard on you, and you got to do like one takes. You know, when I say one take, so when the tape starts and you're recording in a booth, you've got to sing it from start to finish, just like they did in the old days. As you know, in the old days, in the 30s, in the 40s, they had to just like 2 tracks, so they had to just play and do it one time.
Yeah.
So I learned that.
Real tape in it, going blah, 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 and then they got to go back and it's like, here we go, the whole night.
Yeah.
No one wants that to start
again. So that's the kind. Even though we got bloody loads of tracks, multiple tracks to use, they would like hard on me. So it's trained me that when I do any take, I do one take, so I do 80%, 90%. Therefore, there's less work to do. So, you know, that kind of teachings came from, you know, the Matumbi guys, my mentors, you know. From that rock band became McCoy, because the rock band weren't getting to the places where we thought we should have been. So I decided to bring in some more soulful songs. And so the band went with it. Around the same time, I put a band together called the Pasadenas.
Oh, yeah.
And they really kicked off. So the very first gig, they did a gig at the Dominion, and they said if I won the gig, so I took the gig, and I brought in my brothers and sisters, my two Robin, Cornell, and my sister Jeanette, and that was the beginning of like live, you know, McCoy. We said we can do this. We were practicing. By that time, we were always practicing, and then from there, so JTQ, started writing a lot, did a lot of stuff for ITV, children's television, Running Loose. In the area, people you know, you guys will know, Eldora, Melissa, Running Loose. And just got into a lot of writing. I write for a lot of people. I wrote the theme song for the 1994 Commonwealth Games, and I sang the song, The Brave. So got into that. And then since I've just been doing projects.
Yeah.
So I've been doing projects with various people,
Know he did
you know, like
Pasadena.
I didn't know you'd done a Pasadena.
yeah, I put that band together.
Wow.
They all went to my school. We grew
What
up
happened to
together.
them?
Well, I'll just explain how we got together. So we're local guys in Battersea. We play football. We do all of that stuff. And the twins, Michael and David, they were in my year, so we grew up together. They were great dancers, as you know. They had a dance group called Finesse, and around that time, I was booking acts for a shubin. It's not a shubin, it's like a club. It goes until morning. It is a shubin, but entertainment. So I used to run the night. I bought Finesse down there. Yeah, man. Missed that. Yes. So I bring people like Finesse down, Frank Bruno, we were tight. This is just when Frank's just going pro. So, you know, I'm trying to get as much as I can, because I used to put on a lot of parties and stuff, you know. I've always been this guy, I've never really worked for anyone. I sold jewelry, I had a jewelry shop. Hatton Gardens was my home when I was like 16, 17, 18 going up. In fact, it was because of going down to Hatton Gardens and meeting all these different characters, and I was up North London a lot, East London. That's when I was sort of like partying. I was around like 19 to 23. Anyway, I'll just wrap it up. So, you know, throughout the little years of doing around 85, the rest what I said before with McCoy and Pasadena, so that started. Yeah, that's it. JTQ, there's so many projects. I'm working with Gary Crosby and Brinsley Ford. We've been touring the story of the Trojan story with Jazz. So we've been doing that for the past 2 years. We've got shows in July. I've been doing projects like that with Guy Barker, big band, BBC band. I'm always working. I could be working more, but I just want to be here in the studio producing, and that's what I want to do. Down thing, no, I really work right now, to be honest.
It's COVID as well. It's hard.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, that's another question. How has COVID impacted you in a negative way, or has it made you or forced people to be a bit more creative and go into other elements of their I suppose their desires that they never really kind of brought to fruition. But because of COVID now, you've got time to,
COVID was like welcome to my
experiment,
world.
I suppose.
For me, it was like welcome to my world. I mean, the isolation. I got my studio. Can't go out. What? That's my world.
So
for some it works that way. For me, it's a complete, well, not a nightmare. I mean, it made me focus on. I mean, I just finished doing my degree at that point, so I was so glad that when COVID came that I'd finished it, in that sense, because it's been a nightmare for a lot of my friends, trying to, and even young people, work from home, not have the full access to a uni, and not have the experience, but be charged the full amount of what the course was. So there's a disparity. So I'm glad I passed that point, and then just have to deal with the children. And
podcast because of it, because to be honest, I think if it wasn't for COVID, because we've learned a lot about how to work remotely, and knowing that you can work remotely, because there is a way, before you always had to be face to face. Even though I'm a people's person, I must say I like real vibes and whatever. That you can work remotely, and we probably wouldn't be doing these podcasts if COVID wasn't there, and we probably wouldn't be able to access people as easy to come on the podcast because everyone's
busy.
You won't be able to track them down. So it's been a bonus in some aspects. How has it been for you guys, work-wise?
For me, it's been pretty good actually. I've been busy doing streaming, done a few streaming shows from the off, from it started. So I stopped doing and lots of interviews because there are people on, people on tour, and putting some projects together. I wrote a jazz fusion album as well, and I'm prolific in it. I mean, I just give thanks to the Most High because when it comes, it comes. That's how it is over the past few years. I don't just write. If you give me a subject, I can write a subject. But the real vibes come only once in a while. But you gotta be ready for it,
Hey, I'm like Noah. I don't know if I'm prolific, but I'll tell you what, right? I got some vibes from I came out of the hospital. I've just been, on loving it really. And when the COVID happened, it was like green light. Every light was green for a whole year. I was just in my element, and I just got some new equipment. I bought this mic and my MPC, and next thing I knew, I just couldn't stop it. So it was good, man. I love it.
Yeah.
So we've got some good things coming then that be coming out to the public soon. So did you hear that on the show? They've been writing so much and doing so much work that we're going to be listening to some good tunes coming.
That's right.
Soon.
Yeah. I've got an album coming out. I've got a single coming out. I signed a record deal, a record contract, whatever. So I'm loving it.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear that you got some new things coming. I know you got things, but that's great to hear, Carl.
Yeah, man.
Actually, on that subject, myself and Junior came to your house and we wrote 2 tunes, right?
Yeah.
And I always thought, I really love working with you because I've worked with you many times, but it's live. I worked with you as a promoter. I've worked with you. So in terms of writing with you, going to the studio, I didn't get a chance to tell you, but it was, something big for me because I rate you.
But that song.
So I just wondered that song if we could rekindle.
Yeah, man. The song it's been.
That's why I love
rekindled already. It's been because it was all on old computers. I had to bring it back and I've given it I've dusted it off and given it some rebirth. And the song's called From the Get Go, isn't it? I think that's
right. One of them was called From the Get Go.
Yeah. Well, I got your voice. You sound beautiful.
I didn't even know. You know what? I can't remember singing on it. I just remember your dogs were eating.
King's love is coming through. Look.
No, man, your voice sounds beautiful, man.
This is what we love to hear, people connect.
I just remember us having fun and
keeping it real.
And everything.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's what's good about these things, that we can connect. And he did come to the studio.
And stay connected.
Yeah, for real. He came to the studio And I think Junior said to him, sing like X, Y, and then he sang X, Y, Z, and start A again. You know, oh, it was just beautiful to hear his interpretation of what Junior asked him to sing. It was lovely. But it's like the song was initially about from the get-go, I told you what I'm like, and if you want to argue with me, you know, you can just leave, type of thing, right? And when I revamped it now, I've kind of put a new, fresher, a bit of wokeism in it. So it's from the get-go. They ain't gonna let you tell your story. They ain't gonna let you do certain things. Yeah, just change it a little bit. And I think
we
that's
look forward to hearing that. So I hope you're going to share that with us. That
yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
Now you put it on the show.
And we'd love to promote it with you as well.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
you put that on the show. We've got to hear it. Even if we have to help you promote that and push that out, we want to hear the magic.
With our little selves.
Yeah.
You and Junior and Carl, that'd be excellent.
Well, I reached out to him as well. I asked Junior to come in and help me finish it, and Junior said, "Yeah, the boys will definitely be up for it." So it's just there, and I just what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send it to Noel, and I'm gonna send it to Junior, you know, for them to do their parts. Well, I've just had to finish my album, my part of the album first, because I had to get all that out of the way.
Yeah,
of course, yeah, makes sense.
It's special. I did some Marvin covers, and I did a version of. Yeah. I did. I've done a song called "Gonna Make You Mine," like a new version. And when you hear it, you'll hear it soon. It's.
That's good to hear.
Well, we're looking forward to that, and that actually brings me on to my next question, in the sense of, you know, once you getting your first record deal. From the time you get your first record deal, then you've gone into, so you've had the talks, then you develop a manager, then you get into the record company contracts, then you get into the challenges of how you deal with the record company and how they deal with you, and then you get into the highs of actually, you know, your achievements. You know, these are the things that are quite interesting, because so many people have different variations of experiences in that within the record industry,
especially with masters and things, like, you know, the major labels owning people's masters and things, like after the hard work they go in.
I wonder why we don't see them singing it for about 20 years, because we didn't realize that, you know, you're not able to, unless, you know, there's the longevity of, or the period of time that the masters are owned by the company. You know, artists can't obviously revisit those songs, or can't go on tour and sing those songs, and if they do, you know, there's consequences to it. So it must be understood that as a public, we're like, oh, that's why they've gone quiet. Oh, really? You know, it's quite. Well,
I think you can do it live. You can do your own songs live, but they do own it. And the way they've done us is that we signed a terrible contract. Terrible. It was like 3 cents on the dollar, because we had 9 cents on the dollar, and we shared that 3 ways. So it's 3 cents on the dollar. And if the producer, if we get a producer, his money comes out of that 9 cents, right? So every now and again, I get a check for £2,000, and that is my share of £100,000.
Wow!
If that gives you any idea of how bad that contract was, because what they've done now, they've put our songs on YouTube as a platform, and I think Spotify and all that stuff. And how it works is that if, supposing, I think once you go over 100,000 views, advertisers become attracted or attached to.
That's monetary. You get monetary.
You start getting monetary funds. And how they break it down is that we get, like the record company would get the makers they own, they get 91%. And then me, Jane, and Steve, we shared
3%.
Yeah, 3%. So
between you.
So every time I get one of those checks, and I get one of those checks 4 times a year. So I know Loose Ends catalog is actually, people are looking at stuff online. But
still getting your royalties, that's good.
Yeah, I get royalties, but it turns out to be about $10,000, which is probably be about, I don't know,
About seven.
seven grand,
Yeah.
which is
When
not a
you
lot
think
of
about
money.
what they're getting and you've done all the
Right.
work, that's the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
disheartening thing about
Yeah.
it, isn't it?
Because
That
what it was, when we went to sign our deal, we had a black manager called Granville Williams. And he went in there and he was like, yeah, I'd like them to get videos and I'd like, to spend some money on the promotion. And after he did that for about 3 weeks, we got a phone call from Virgin saying they'd like to have a meeting with us. And don't bring Granville. Type of
yeah,
thing,
that's usually
right?
the way to get rid of your manager.
Yeah. So then when we got there, they said, he's a wanker. If he calls us again, the deal's off the table. So have a think and come back to us. Let us know what you're thinking. So that was him at the picture. Gladly, it was my friend as well. I introduced Steve to him, but Steve was the leader. All right. So it was Steve. Steve had to tell him that he's not in the picture, but it's a sad thing really, because he had great intentions and he was doing his job.
I think they've done that a lot, didn't they, with majors? Because I remember many times they tried to sign me, and I had this nice manager who cared about me, and the money. And every time I went to a major label, they would say, if we take you, we have to get rid of your manager, and we have to be your manager. I'd be like, no, but I want to keep him. They'd be like, well, do you understand how big you can be? And I'll be like, nah. And I remember I always stayed with the same little manager that in the end I left him because I didn't get any deals. But it's like,
no, it wasn't your fault.
They do that all the time.
Yeah, you did the right thing. You did what was right for your soul.
Yeah.
For your spirit. So this is happening to everyone. This is what they do,
Yeah.
It's about control, divide, control.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
It's just like another form of. It's interesting because I had earlier on I was with Rosita, and who was previous on our show, and Carl, I know you know her well.
Yeah.
And it was quite strange. There's one sentence alone that we thought when we were discussing Carnival, and the structure of Carnival and how we'd like it to, be the kind of what's the word? Be the umbrella of not just music, not just culture, but equally finance. It should be self-financing at this stage after 50 years, 60
definitely.
years. And the fact that it's not, and the fact that, we can, between the council, KNC, the government and the government agencies, police.
I mean, they got paid for pitches, don't they? When the food people...
what they do is that, it's over 2 million people, 1.5 million, depending on the days or the total days.
Right.
And that it's not self-generating. So therefore we have to be reliant on the funding, whether it comes through, how it comes through. Long story short, I've got to be really honest. What's one thing about me, I just tell it like it is, whether you like, you don't like it. But for me, we are jumping and dancing and singing, and we're begging every year for, funding or advertising or, through funders or whatever the case may be. But it's almost like we're in slavery in the sense that they're benefiting, they're watching us dancing and singing and, singing the cry of pain, basically, originally. That's the original thing of Carnival. And also how we can connect with each other and talk to each other without being penalized. Right, so we're demonstrating on one hand what the brutality of what we're going through, and we're also saying that we're owning our heritage still, no matter what you do to us, and then we're trying to remember and bring and keep current where we come from. But at the same time, when you come to England now and we have something, what happens is that they put these kind of They put these kind of negativity in it, in the sense of, we can help you. And once we help you, we're going to show you
ourselves. Once we help you, we'll help ourselves.
But at the same time, next thing you know, there's infighting, there's arguments, and in the middle of all of that,
divide and conquer.
You've got the middle people going, maybe you shouldn't run it. Maybe we should hold on to your finance, because we know that you find it difficult to manage yourselves and your finance. I just hate that, because you spend all this time undermining and being the divisive tool in whatever we create. Then you micromanage it initially, and then you manage it, and then you give us the residue of what you think we should have. And you do that through rules and regulations. You do that through, health and safety, or policing, or any way you can think of. And if we say, actually, we don't want you to do that, they say, okay, well, we'll charge you for this, and we'll charge you for that, and we'll charge you for this, and we'll stop you getting from here, we'll stop you getting from there. So you make it almost near impossible for us to have continue to control our own products and be creative and still be creative. So we always have this song and dance, that like the monkey on the string with the the ground. That's how we've always been. I don't know. There's a way of saying it, but
manipulated
in a more realistic way. We just need to make sure that once we've got stung once, even twice, there's never a third time. There shouldn't be a second time, but a third time, you really have to wake up and realize that you are capable of doing a lot of things. You are capable of achieving. You are capable of holding on to your money without feeling guilty. All kind of things that they put on us. And so this is when I hear about the record industry, whether it's the education, which is what we've done before, whether it's the record industry, whether it's the acting industry, you find.
I think with the music industry, it can be, as we know, there is always that divide and conquer, but there can be, there was definitely a kind of a racial thing of, going back as well, from front singers to how they're supposed to look and perform, especially when it's going commercial. But I think, there were some people, no matter what color they were, that were getting ripped off by major labels. Doesn't matter what color you were. But we also know that it was, that from back in the history of it all, there were bands that were, black artists that were writing and producing the best songs, and then they were getting certain people to front it because they said that you wouldn't make sales or you wouldn't whatever. But regards to the masters, and some people were happy to sign over their vocals or their lyrics or their royalties because they wanted upfront money, because they needed that money to survive as well. So it wasn't just about they're taking over and manipulating. Some people really needed to survive, and they felt that, I'd rather that song's easy. I can sign a few songs over and let them do what they want with it, and I'll just take the money up front. Right. And then they didn't realize that their tunes were going to be such a success, and then they're going to hear it all over the world, and then you're going to think, damn, did I write
That's an American story, isn't it? Like blues singers and all those jazz musicians, big time.
Where they got ripped off.
To us.
But even in England, you've still got people like Elton John, you've still got Sting, you've still got so many groups that got ripped off originally with their record label. Or usually it's three things: either the record label itself and the contracts that they devise, or you find it's your accountant who's
looking after your money.
Got all the faith and honesty and to pay your taxes and to pay this and pay that. And actually, when you in America and over here, you find Lauryn Hill's the same thing, and then you find that they're not paying what they should be paying, but they don't get penalized, but you do. And you get penalized because you didn't watch your accountant. The whole reason why you employed your accountant is to ensure that he covered your back financially.
So did you find, Noel or Carl, sorry, did you find that, you saying with maybe Loose Ends that they owned the masters? Did they own your masters?
Yeah, of course they did.
And your royalties, and you got your percentage. And no, did you? Because you seem to do a lot of songwriting yourself, and I know from watching you from way back, I know you kind of went around here and there. You seem to be like quite in control of your songwriting and royalties, if I remember. I don't know all, but I know from what I saw of you, because it's where you kind of schooled us as well when we were younger. Because I'd done a lot. I used to be around and do stuff with you myself, and kind of see how you used to kind of school us into do this and not do this. Did you find yourself where you had your masters owned or record deals with the McCoys? Your first time.
You know what? There's only one person who's got my masters. Yeah, somebody, and you all know him. And I ain't gonna say his name enough.
Is it him? Okay.
The blood fire him. Just like the story where them tell me. All right, so in terms of contract, I've always had a clause in my contract that after a certain time, if my record ain't released, I get back the masters. So I've danced with all of the labels. because I do projects in it, JTQ, all of this. So
Yeah.
all my agreements, I get all the masters when it's my stuff. But the one person who done,
Yeah.
you know what, we just talked about the people who do this, who concoct these agreements
Yeah.
in all society, because it's a thing what they do, innit? That's
Yeah.
what they do. But me I deal with somebody
Yeah.
who's like we,
Yeah. I could
our
tell.
unit, yeah? In the industry, somebody you know very well, Carl. And I'm not gonna say a name.
Alright,
As I
alright.
talk, you're gonna know what I'm talking about,
Okay.
yeah? Somebody I work for. I work for this person, and this person sessions there, yeah?
Mm.
So I book a session there. One day my management book a session there, not me,
Yeah.
for me to do some overdubs.
Yeah.
Did the overdubs. The management company I was with went bankrupt. It was known in the industry, just went out, yeah? And because that manager never paid for that session, that
Right.
person took my masters and told me to my face that he might have to just wipe over them. Now, at that point when he said that, I hold it, and that person sent bailiffs to my yard. I said, I need them because I was going to mix my album in Liverpool at Phil Collins' studio because I was with the same management company. And I said to that person, all right, me repair you. Just give me January, because we were in December. January, I'll give you money. And the man never give me the money. I mean, the man never give me back my tapes to this day.
No way.
So that's the only person in my 40 odd years being recorded.
Wow.
So,
And the horrible
like
thing.
what you were saying, that's not what the hurtful thing for me is that I've been very studious in my contract. I got contracts. That's what I do. I know about contract. So,
Yeah.
but that for me to put that in, and then them man there who concocts this stuff, they couldn't even have them.
And then this
But
guy
our own do that to me.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
we were saying on the show before, weren't we, Jamila? That we were talking with the hip hop lot, and that was one of the things that came up, and it's not just record companies, because they're just seeing it as business. They don't care. They don't, you're just another artist. So you're just money and business. But the worst, we were saying the same thing. The worst thing is when one of your own good friends or someone stabs you in the back. I think that's a lot worse because sometimes you work in the industry, but you put a lot of trust in people, and you think that they're your friends or they're just decent people, and you kind of trust them, and you got 100% love, and then they're the ones that rip you off. And I think we were saying, we think that's the worst of all.
Yeah, definitely.
Where would you say, like, what would you say is like your highs and lows of the industry? Like, you've obviously been successful, like we've said, you've had big hits, toured around the world, so that must be a good thing in itself, that experience. But what would you say were the highs and then the lows of working? Because everybody thinks it's just some glamour thing in the industry. They think, oh God, you're famous, you're so lucky, you've got all these fans, and it's all perfectly beautiful, and you're so lucky. But we all know, anyone who's been an artist that has, definitely, if you've been successful, behind the scenes, it's not always as lovely as it looks, because it can be very hard work for a start, and then it can be very a nasty industry. So what would you say your highs and lows were? So go with you, Carl, first.
Okay, well, I have to say that the respect that you get from other people is very intoxicating, and I think that's really what we are doing it for. Because I don't think we're doing it for money. We're doing it so that someone hears what we're doing or sees what we're doing and says, that guy, that's the guy, or that's my guy right there. I like what he's doing. And I think 99% of the artists get into these bad deals because they just want to get their music out and they just want to move on. Like in our situation, we had a choice, and it was basically, hey, you sign this contract, otherwise there's 10, 50 of you around the corner we could just sign. Basically, they said it like that. We were trying to negotiate. They was like, listen, we ain't into no negotiating business. You see this contract, sign it, otherwise
next.
And it was like, so we just said, well, maybe we can negotiate as we go along, renegotiate. But it never really got renegotiated because they give you a different type of credit, some different type of way of crediting you or giving you some type of bonuses but in terms of the actual parameters of the contract and the agreement, that always stuck. So the artist pays a heavy price.
Do you think that's because of the advances? Because you find that when you generally sign to majors, they kind of, entice you with these big advances, and then you take them, and then you're forever owing. So they've kind of got you on the next album, and
but we didn't sign for no big advance. We got signed for £500.
Oh, okay.
And our I think it was 80 quid each once we gave our
Wow.
manager. You know what I mean? So we were just we were signed on the basis of Steve Nicol, good looking guy. He does a bit of jazz, and they basically gave us 3 singles and an album. And I don't think that they thought that was going to be, anything really. To be honest, I think Virgin was not into black music. They were into punk, and they were up and coming. They were actually, because punk actually became a part of the British tourist
Culture.
So culture, very much. So that gave Virgin a huge platform. And when we got there, they had pictures of.
But Carl, sorry to pick up in. Who I met the money for do the punk thing and Boy George and them is from the reggae roster. Remember, he put out all of the Mighty Diamonds.
Yes.
He put out nothing on, and the money he get from
Pastor
that
Dutchy,
launching Bloodfire.
Yeah, they did all that.
Make
And they didn't really look after those artists either.
No.
They gave them terrible deals. That really was some advanced money. And it was a couple of grand, because they signed that. And a couple of grand maybe. And then when you're in Jamaica and a man give you a couple of grand, whatever, you're gonna feel good and don't really understand.
For a short while.
For a short while, yeah, because you probably go out and buy a guitar or a little old car, and then you're back to square one again,
Yeah.
But really, our thing was they didn't know nothing about soul music. They got this guy called Mick Clark to come in, and it was all about him, really. They gave him the job of sorting out the whole department, and he got fired. In fact, we gave him our demo when he was working as a DJ in a record shop called City Sounds, and we gave it to him in December, and over the Christmas, he got fired from City Sounds. But he knew some of the guys in Virgin, and I think they got into some altercation. They was in a hotel room somewhere, and the police must have come in and catch them with certain things in the room that they shouldn't have had, and he must have took the rap for them. And then so they helped him out by giving him a job. So it was nothing to do with us. But when he got the job, we'd already given him our tape. So they said to him, so what's any ideas you got? And he said, yeah, I've got this group called Loose Ends. But our first album cover had a white baby on it. They did it without us knowing. We did this song called In the Sky. And if you ever look at that album cover, it's all these clouds and it's got a little white kid on the front cover. So, and they said they didn't know, they didn't know how to market that type of music. They know how to market in the white markets, but for black people, they were inexperienced in marketing to black people, which to me nowadays, now that I'm a bit woke, I would always say, well, listen, why don't you go down to Africa? Just go to Africa where there's millions of black people, right? And set up some sort of royalty thing going down there, and just play them the tune and see what happens.
See what happens.
Right. Because really, that's it. They, black artists. Unfortunately, we are selling our music constantly to white markets like Australia, Europe, even Hong Kong, and all these places, who are now giving it back to us. But their system is not set up for Africa, and Africa is where all the real hardcore black people. They probably know about us already, but it's in an illegal kind of a way. Yeah, it's not really set up as a proper market. And they always say that, black Africans don't really follow the rules or whatever, but they manage to get all the resources out of Africa when they're ready, but they just look in the other way, really, because really our market is really just here in America. But there's a big world out there that they could be marketing us to, but they chose to go with the little white kid on the front cover. And so that's when we started to really say, look, no, we can't have that. We started to take pictures and try to be into fashion, because Steve had a fashion background, Jane had a fashion background. So we started to do pictures and stuff, and then it started to come out, oh, these people are black, they're not white, you know. And then, you know, I don't know if that helped. I don't think it did, because the next song we put out,
I think it did. Your image was strong.
I think you lot stood out. I remember growing up.
Representing us.
yeah,
Representing
Influence to
UK.
us.
You're young, innit? You're trying to make a point, isn't it?
No, you lot definitely stood out, I think, and you definitely made a stamp, because Loose Ends was like, yeah, they're British and they're black, and it's like, you know, they're one of us, and they up there. And I always remember thinking that when you're like dancing so down.
Well, there's a lot of relationships that started with those tunes as well.
Wow, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the DJ comes on, you know, everyone's got a particular dance to a particular tune that they can affiliate to, and then, you know, the women go, yeah.
Remember we used to have that little dance.
Oh my god.
We even had our little dances, isn't it, back then?
Yeah, we all had our dances.
Do you remember the dance for that? Like, no, we had our dances, man. It was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. Especially to me,
that was the tunes.
Yeah. And
we weren't making any money.
This is, sorry to cut you, but this is part of why we do what we do, or why we see the need to do what we do. Like my sister's stepfather is Teddy from Atibasa. So Labrador has always been affiliated with artists of all forms, whether they're creative artists. Obviously, everybody came through, whether you're political, whether you're a singing artist, whether you're an actor. It's like we had that. Plus, we had.
My dad was an activist musician.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's
my
dad, percussion player and a guitarist.
My dad, you know, he went into, you know, politics, and then, you know, the rest is history with him. But you know, you know, he used to because he used to have when we had the Black People's Information Centre, we used to live upstairs. At 303 Port Bella Road. So he used to always house people who were homeless, you know, at the time, and then we developed a hostel. So obviously, to the mothers of my dad's children's mothers, they were, you know, quite hostile to the idea because they were strangers. But my dad did in business, you know, if you were homeless and you were from the Caribbean, he would, you know, house you first, and then he'd put you in hostel. Anyway, so through that, you know, it's late 60s, 70s, and then we'd have, you know, we had Bob Marley coming through, so he'd sit down and be reasoning. You know, he plays football, he had his relationships with his ladies and had his children in the Grove, you know, so there was a lot going on. Even when Marvin came through from Europe, from France and wherever, he came down and he'd come and sit with my dad, and then mutual friend, sorry, Godfrey, I'm going to name you, Godfrey. And he used to throw some fantastic parties, and he was the director of Roots magazine.
Godfrey Hope.
Earl, is it Earl?
Yeah, I know Godfrey Hope, right?
Yeah.
GH32 on the Rolls Royce.
Yeah. And he used to have a pad in Paddington, you know, had a swimming pool and all that, you know, all those things.
Yeah. A high rolling black man.
Yes. Yeah, from the 80s. So he was already been affiliated to Michael Jackson family and had all these different, simply because of the magazine, obviously. But I remember going to his parties and seeing Shaka Khan and, you know, all the others, and then be like, wow, I didn't realize, being so young at 8, 9, who these people really were in that sense, or the enormity of their success. But you know, between Godfrey and my dad and the political arena, you always had a lot of people. Music in the middle of it.
It's funny how active that kind of activist thing and that powerful kind of, you know, activist thing. There's always music played a big part, should we say?
Music and food.
Definitely.
It was an expression. If you wasn't marching and, you know, shouting or doing whatever you needed to do to protest, you could do it through music. Because I always remember my dad. I think I got into music because of my dad, and I always remember my dad telling me, you know, if you want to speak. Because I used to ask him, you know, what should I do? And he always said to me, if you're going to speak from the heart and speak the truth. Which when I first started out, I find I was such a young writer doing things, and I was doing that. But as time went on, I found that it became more difficult and you got more suppressed, because you think you can change the world when you're young.
Definitely.
You're writing. Yeah. And I think my best writing was when I was young, and then I found I got more and more suppressed with my writing, that somehow you kind of water it down a bit and you just kind of make it towards people. Then you kind of get lost. Well, I got a bit lost. I went commercial and, you know, whatever.
Trying to please them.
like you said, sometimes you get so fed up of being suppressed, of trying to make it or getting outlets, because you try and say no, 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 because you want to keep your people. Then you lose all your opportunities. Well, you think you did, but really, when you look back, they didn't own nothing of yours. So you really, that's what you should have done. But at the time, you're thinking, I want to make it. I've got to get, someone needs to hear me. I want to express myself to the world. Not just always for the money. Sometimes you want to express yourself because you want to get out there. Then you go and do the wrong thing to get out there by just thinking, oh, I'll do anything and I'll get out there and then I'll change everything and I'll tell them how it's going to go. It never goes that way.
Right.
And then you look back and you start writing for yourself. And then you realize, hey, you know what? I can write for myself now. I can do this for myself. I ain't going to make maybe the fast bucks the way I did when I was commercial or whatever. But I own my stuff and I can make it more fun. And and he always taught me, he took from after that, write from the heart and tell the truth. And then I started writing some deep songs after, where I realized, especially in the 90s, you couldn't write those deep songs anyway because you weren't allowed to put them out. I remember people saying, nah, that's too serious, like as if you were weird if you wrote something deep or from the heart. And then I realized releasing my same song I wrote in the 90s, but they wouldn't let me release because they said it was like, and in 2015, which I released when my dad passed and I, on behalf of him, which you know the song now because I was going to do it in the studios with you, and it just released it, not doing nothing. It smashed it in the on YouTube, 18,000 hits, and I didn't really do nothing, but it was deep. It's a deep song, and it just shows you that you do get lost, like you said, Carl. You sometimes you just want to get out there and express yourself.
Illusion.
Yeah.
No, you want to express yourself. You just want to be able to tell your story. The same like an activist wants to go out and make change. You want to be able to get out there, and sometimes you just get so suppressed that you just get lost.
Well, the business side is what gets, you see, the music business, the music side of it is honest, right? It's totally honest. The business side of it, see, I've never ever met a rich, a musician that started out rich.
Yeah.
So the rich people, they don't normally do the art side. They do the business. And the way how the business works, let's be honest, it's the business of exploiting the musicians.
Yeah.
That is really what the music business does. You know, you get a certain level of schooling, as a level of education that gives you a certain understanding, which if we look at it like a 10-story tower block, it takes you up to about number 3. Now, when you look at your first contract, that's coming in at number 10. You know, the actual level of English that's written in. I always said that if ever I had my own label, or if one of the greatest things that I've always wanted to do would be to write out my contract, my live band contracts in Yardi, specific, Yardi, what they call lingo.
It's funny you say that because I done a law degree, and I always, whenever I do contracts with people, it's funny you say that because that's the thing that I was on. But whenever artists come to me and they have contracts from people, I then send it back and say, take that word out, take that word out, take that word out, put that in plain English, like you cannot have this, because they're trying, because obviously with law you hide behind wording so that you just average Joe Block
Latin word.
Use the Latin, and so I would always take clauses and then break them down and say, no, I don't want that word in, put that word in, I want it change thing, just so that the people who are signing the contract actually understand what the hell they're signing.
Because the process is very well, when you think about it, you've got a low level of education and you're reading this contract, and the way how they've got it, I mean, my thing, I
like
would
doctors and medicine.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in Latin, as you say, and I would like to have my contract if I could do it, I'd write it out in total Yardi and tell them there's a guy in Jamaica in the hills, go and give him £400 an hour, and he will tell you what this means. Because that's really what they do to us. You know, you got 1 hour for this guy to tell you what this thing means, and he can't explain it in 1 hour. So that becomes 400, 500, 800, 1200, and you're just about at the point where, okay, I think I know what you mean, but then you still don't know how to leverage your way through all of that and, gain on the negotiations, you've not really had that level of schooling. So this guy, you are his total mercy. And if he knows them, because sometimes with labels, they might use lawyers for different things. And they might even say, here's a list of lawyers that you could go and use to make you think, you know, these are not our people. I'm just trying to help you out. But they've done business with this lawyer, and they could probably do a lot more business in the future with him.
Exactly.
So when he gets your contract, he's thinking, boy, if I really tell this youth how to deal with these people, they're never going to give me no more work.
Exactly.
Right? So he's kind of trying to play two sides, and you end up being totally ripped off. I mean, our first contract,
and you have to pay for the lawyer. That's
we have to pay for it. Yeah, but our first contract that we signed, our publishing contract, we never got a bill. And then we realized that the guy who we had the contract with, so he's on the other side of the table, he actually paid for it. And I think we could probably get out of that contract.
Because you have to acknowledge, they say that you have to have someone witnessing that you actually acknowledge it. You could have.
Well, lawyer, he asks for who pays him.
Yeah.
So,
and not if they're working together.
No, so exactly. And it's he could lose his license for that.
Yeah, could.
You know, but it's what I'm saying is that thing is throughout the industry.
Yeah.
That this word that they use, that they bat around like it's the real iron fists, the law, and it's corrupt because it's aimed at children for the first thing. People like me and Noel should be at a point now in our career where we can walk into a record contract and just, you know, maybe reel off a couple of albums and then get out of it real quick. Yeah. Because we know the business, we know how it works, we know how to record quickly, and we've got the experience.
But your money.
But they won't give us it because they know we know the business. Yeah, sure. Right? They want a youth that's wide-eyed and it's not good.
And that brings me on to my next point, because we're geared towards, obviously, partly, I mean, when we can, when the availability is there, to have young people on the panel also alongside yourselves, so they can get hear the first-hand experiences first of all, learn from that, and also, you know, you be the connector to them, because normally they don't have that connection. Yeah. You know, as much as we love everybody, everyone is scattered all over the place, and a few of
very scattered now.
You know, you've got the few that have clustered together and stuck together through thick and thin, which is wonderful. But the vast majority of everybody is to find them. Oh yeah, I'm on Instagram. Oh, I'm on
you have to go and look for them.
I'm on Facebook. You have to go and look for them, and even then, it depends what kind of frame of mind they're in, if they're receptive to you or not. So normally, you have to end up going around through friends and friends of friends and so that they realize that you're authentic in one sense. But by the time you've done all that, you're exhausted and you just give up.
That's true.
So those young ones don't really have an outlet to reach out to people to get the experience and be confident even to reach out. So when we realize that, when we speak to our teenagers and we speak to the younger ones, we realize how disconnected they actually are
with the older generation.
And we are part of their yeah, but we are also our part as 50-something, and they're not even talking about the 70-something, the grandparents. But we are a contributor to their disconnection, even though we don't realize it.
Oh, definitely.
There's a lot of assumptions that they know the music, they know the culture. You should know. Well, you're acting like you're not Caribbean or you're not from the. You should, all these things that we're saying that they should be or should know, and they don't. They actually don't, because they don't have the same outlets that we did. We don't have the same parties, we don't have the same clubs, we don't have the same, premises that we used to have. There's all been taken from us.
And so community centres, all the community centres as well, closed down.
We don't have
no
mentors,
connection.
We don't have youth workers, or very little now, through design. So, we have to stop assuming that they understand things, and they actually don't. So we need to now start bringing them back in and start looking for them and saying, well, actually we're here, or we have a central building or a central organization that houses everybody, like the kind of black dictionary of creativity or something like that, cultural creativity, where they can, you can get access to the artist straight away.
I'm up for it, man. I'm ready for
it. Do you remember Jamila as well? Because remember when we done a hip hop podcast, and I remember having this little kind of, it went into a bit of a debate where some of the older generation, they were saying, the younger generation have no respect and blah, 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 and they're not interested. And we had to tell them, I'm sorry, but we know a lot of artists, younger artists, that are really interested and have told us that they're hungry to find out about, you know, the older generation, and especially in the UK, the soul, because I didn't even know that some of you even existed. They thought it was just America. And they're hungry to find out about their roots of the UK. So it's a bit like with the Mangrove 9. A lot of people didn't know that there was such a you know, a big historic case like the Mangrove 9 in the Old Bailey, one of the longest cases in the Old Bailey, of which they won the case. And they didn't even know about it. I remember when I used to tell people my dad's from the Mangrove 9, everyone just looked at me like, so, like it was nothing, and you just thought, well, anyway, maybe it's
who is that?
Mangrove. I thought it was some group.
So you kind of tried to run away from it, like, as growing up, like you didn't want no one to know about that kind of stuff because you was trying to be someone else. But when the young generation did find out, they're like, wow, we didn't know that we had Black history in the UK. We just thought it was America. And I'm so, God, you've got so much over here to learn. And I think it's a lot like that with the music. A lot of the UK artists, the older generation, they think they're not interested in us because we're older and they don't want to know about our music, but they do. You'll be so surprised that there's so many out there that are interested in the UK Black history of music, like Jamila was saying.
Well, I can say this, right? I've been working with young people in music for many years, and even on Friday I got a young. Well, he's not that young, but he's younger than us. He's coming down to do. I've not met this guy before, but he's got a great flow. He's from Jamaica, but lived in America for a while, from Barking. So I can relate to it, all what you're saying. I've done so much for youth. I don't never talk about it. I've even taught degree courses in vocals, you know. So, but that's a side I don't even talk about. But my whole being is just to secure my family and to help youth. That's what I was here for. That's why I'm not up in music all the time. I had a company called the Fix Up Program, still going. I just had to leave, which we dealt with the kids in Stonebridge Area Youth Project, and we did some amazing stuff. Amazing. And the people then didn't want to fund us again. They didn't want to fund us. So I left. The company's still going, but I thought I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to get money in kind, and I'm going to start my own academy. But that's what I'm about. That's what I'm laying out.
Now, please let us know when you do.
Yeah, man.
Like Jamila was saying, we're trying to build like a kind of database network. Well, we have already started, to be honest, where we put out our podcasts and we kind of say, you know, we've had Noel, we have Carl McIntosh on the show, Donnie, and can these younger generation or these people that might want to reach out for some kind of networking help or support or advice or mentor, you know, that we could maybe forward on people's details that they might, even if it's sometimes you might just give them one little bit of advice to do
life changing,
which could, you know, make them think twice. Even with these podcasts, putting them out, you know, we're educating the youth because you're sitting here telling your stories about how it's happened and how it didn't happen, for them to open their eyes about what it's really like. And I think through this education that we're providing, like for artists like yourself, big, you know, legends that people look up to, it's a way of us sharing that information, which is education to the younger generation. But please, you know, if you're doing anything, please let us know. We'll take your links and stuff and put it on our
Actually, I've got. Yeah, that's a good point, because I've got some information for, I don't know if you may have this information, but regarding young people getting work in TV in all aspects, and they go, I think it's a year, they get paid for it as well. So I can forward that information.
Yeah, every information.
And what would be good also, we did say on the previous podcast, is, you know, in having enough minds to create a union for artists. It doesn't matter what kind of artist.
Now you're talking.
But a union where you have the right people in place that can advise you, whether it's on legal contracts, whether it's on management, what type of management you require and what you need, whether it's just on, but the business side of it, because this is what we're lacking. This is what we've been denied so much. Because I worked in the city for 15 years and I've done commercial properties and residential properties, Chelsea, and then up north and whatever. And what was interesting is the coal miners. I was looking after their pension pot, and how they invested was brilliant. They invested in shopping centres. So that's the biggest, well, it was then, obviously, for 30 years. So the retail was what was funding and their pension, you know, so the profits from the retail, those retail units were invaluable for them. You know, they didn't put it through the bank. They didn't put it through a hedge fund. They put it through. They generated it through tenancies and tenants and units.
Oh wow!
So I thought, wow, why didn't we do that? You know, why don't we have something? Create a kind of shopping center, or all black shopping center, or people of color.
Right.
And we generate the proceeds from from them paying their rents. And we invest that in local projects rather than have to beg for funding, because it's a long-term project. Don't get me wrong, this is this idea. Environmentally, we need to also take ownership of our stocks, and I've always said this on every show, whether it's why are we not investing in our commodities, which is, oil, gas, sugar, everything that our parents and forefathers were forced to go and grow and pick and whatever the case is.
I can say I'm invested in it.
Good.
Oh, yeah?
But there's very few people that
Maybe
are.
why aren't we investing? Because Noel is.
I'm not investing. I know that.
Well, there's Bitcoin. Everyone's investing in Bitcoin and everything now.
Yeah.
See, who's even the owners of that Bitcoin that they're all jumping?
Exactly.
All this money, but no one even knows who the hell owns it. But they're all jumping on it.
What's really hard is that at this age, at this time, us as elders, there's enough of us who are like-minded. The people who I want to talk with, we don't mention the negative people. We talk about what we want to do if we're on the same plane, and then you move forward, because you can never know who a person is, until they show their actions. You me tell you? So, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Moving forward, let's make a union. Let's do it. I'm into positive question.
That's the one.
And even if the contribution of doing stuff is just about people being available, like on a platform to be able to reach out, because things cost money. So if in our days, you would have to pay for this lawyer, you'd pay for this, or you'd have to pay for marketing, or pay for someone to teach you. Even if people just invest in what they can give, with what they know, for instance, if you're a musician and things like that, so you're giving back. It's a bit like the exchange, when you someone comes and does something for you and you do something back, and money doesn't even have to be exchanged. So there's so many ways that people can help people in the industries.
I think when you said that, I actually think that we should be paying money, because it shows that we are serious about building something, because we can do this. What you just said, I've been doing all my life in this industry. That's what keeps me going. It's not the music business. I don't deal with them. I deal with, a lot of the stuff what you've been talking about, I never really had to experience, because I had great mentoring. So I always put out
that's
my
what we're talking about, mentors.
Yes, that's what I've done all my life. I mentor youth, women, all kinds of people. But my point is this. So if we're going to get together, let's put our money where our mouths are. It don't have to be much. But
you could do a music business lottery even.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways of raising money.
Yes, that's a good one.
Advertising. When people advertise on radio stations, I think a portion of that money should go to the artist. Because they're playing artist music.
But what's important is, sorry to cut in, Carl. What's important then, if that's a really good idea, is every avenue of say we're talking about the music industry in this situation, but there should be a main central point organization that can deliver a lot of these strategies and ideas that we're saying, but also they can also hold the money, so what they're paying into, but it has to be transparent, it has to be authentic, it has to be a lot of those things, and it has to be,
if we're all on the same wavelength, it can go on. I did some research on putting together a company. I didn't even have a name for it, but I had a lady helping me. But the company was like Musicians Union and PRS. And what the company does is help Black and whoever, people of color. And it's a database for them to understand the music industry, what they want to get into. We can put them in. But one of the criteria is that you have to give a percentage of your song to the company. So what we do as well, we're like a publisher. So pushing out all these people's songs, the ones we think we're gonna get cuts, but we have to take and that's the percentage that's gonna help keep this thing going on.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this is what we need to talk about. So, you know, these forums that we create stimulates that, and also not only does it stimulate it, but we record it so that when we forget what we're saying, sometimes we start going to other things, and we promise this and we promise that, and you know, we get caught up in
that happens.
even personal dramas, you know, your family, you know, whatever it is,
Right.
you know, because these things come along. We're human, but at least we've got that. Not only do we have that as a recording, and we understand that's what we've you know, dedicated ourselves to, or put ourselves in front of, but also the young people can go, oh, okay, so
That's
we
a good
can come
idea,
in,
and we can do that, or we can support it, or can we be involved?
Yeah, and they have the energy, they have the new ideas, they have the environmental
they-
awareness, what's
Then
going
we can
on.
give them access because of that.
Yes.
They can have access to the studio here.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah,
can
and this is
do-
what they
we can-
desperately want.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
you know, you offer them something, they offer something. You don't have to pay.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay for what they're doing,
Mm.
as long as they do.
And you
something-
don't own their stuff or their masters.
See,
Well,
we're in
Own them
the
for the rest of your life.
we're in the third industrial revolution at the moment.
Mm.
We basically we can make our product for
Mm.
zero marginal costs.
Exactly.
You know, we can do it at home, we can do it in the studio, and it's time now. A lot that really releases us from a lot of the restrictions that the old industry
Yeah.
used to have us under.
Yeah.
On social
And
media.
Yeah, and the young people are finding that for themselves. I mean, a lot of it's through, you know, they're not going to the record deals. They're putting it all out like
No,
Prince
themselves.
did.
They're business minded. But
Yeah,
I also
they're
think
very
COVID, as I always say this, you know me and my spiritual thing, COVID was a time to bring out the truth. And it was to expose everything, expose people,
Okay.
the amount of people, you know, even relationships, divorce, or everything's being exposed, and it's all out there. And it's like the truth is here, and you're going to get it slammed in your face. And I think through the COVID happening, and like I said, if us all kind of in these Zoom meetings and working from home, and even businesses realizing you don't have to be paying for all these big buildings, you can do it at home, and they've got us working remotely from home. And it's costing them half of a fraction. So it's the time of truth, and it has been this last year. We might be in a lockdown, but we've been on a lockdown, so we think, and we haven't got a choice but to sit down and think about our lives, what the hell is going on in the world, and even the environment. So it's one time now where it's given us that opportunity to come together and to actually start to, you know, if you think about it, it's never happened. Even if you know,
not in our lifetime.
right? Never happened. Right?
And our parents, not
Exactly, going way back to it. God, it has never happened. So He's telling you something. The truth is here now, and this is the time now for us to reflect
And
on.
look at the year that it happened, 2020.
Exactly.
That's
It's
a
the time for
serious,
reflection and the truth, and
serious number.
being able to adapt to the change and how.
2020 vision, yeah.
And-
What? When you just said that about the truth, we was just talking about Yinka. Me say me find a tune called The Truth on my DAT today.
Okay,
'Cause
see.
I had a copy of it, and the DAT nyam chewed it up. So then I was gonna fix it and that. Then the other day I saw that, and it had The Truth, and I said, no, this can't be. Anyway, I put it in. It worked. It talks about the song's about who has the truth, who knows the truth to the truth, who has the meaning to the truth. So it questions the truth. The truth is you.
Mm.
And
So the
you
truth.
always
So
feel-
to hear that on our show, the truth is going to come out by Noel McKoy, and it's going to be it's going to be a big thing.
Nah, no, the way you just said that, the truth is that's not gonna come out of me.
Yeah.
I've done a song
Anyway,
called
it's an omen, the
Truth.
truth, right? So you got a song called The Truth. So you got to get that together and get that out. That's what it's telling you, right?
Yeah, man. No, I am. I
Time,
found
it's
it
the time for the
today.
truth.
I'm ecstatic.
And then we got Carl
And we got
McIntosh,
Carl coming
and
through
he's
as
got
well.
second
Yeah.
chance. Yeah. But on the show we said it, second chance, and if he doesn't do it, then he's got another lesson to learn. You have to be.
No, my tunes are coming out definitely.
Yeah?
I can't. I've been stalling for a long time, but now it's coming out. I got a
Really
few
know.
woke tunes as well. I got one tune called "Life on Mars," which is about the amount of money that is being spent on going to Mars.
Yeah.
When on Earth we really haven't brought people up to speed with what they should be, the lifestyle they should be living.
Yes.
This guy Elon Musk, he comes from South Africa. And all around him, he would have had kids walking around with no shoes on their feet, and you know, he's sitting on billions now, and he's trying to go to Mars. You know, and I think there's something poetic in that, and destructive in a sense.
Yeah.
Because you know,
Poetic and
you're
destructive.
from Africa, and you know that's the motherland, and you must have seen a lot of poverty around you, and you're a billionaire now, and you know, it's a shame that you're trying to go to another planet rather than trying to invest in. Anyway, the lyrics are all in there, and I think. It was very hard to write an album with love songs and stuff like that. You know, it was just one of those times where it was just the actual times was writing the lyrics for you.
Yes.
It's
Time of the truth.
Yeah, for real.
Time to let go, let it out.
Yeah.
Let it go.
So, yeah, man. So it was a good time still for everyone to reflect. If he was alive still, because you know, nearly dead too, you know. So you know, really, you know, it's a whole heap of things really did happen. But from I didn't die now and I come back, I just say, well, that means you have to do something with it, you know.
Yes, I. That's why, man, Reba.
And don't worry, we'll be, as we're so proud of you all, you know, we'll be right behind you. So if I see you slip, I'll be right there to say, come on, man, what are you doing? Pick yourself up, man. Fix up.
Wicked.
So my high is just making my first record, and my lows are just when I was not doing music, just making money out in gardens. I haven't had any lows in music. Lows to make me say, oh, that was a low. Because if I ain't doing something, if I'm teaching or I'm doing acting, I just don't get that.
Wicked.
I won't let that happen to me.
Yeah,
I won't.
you get up when you fall.
And I run, so I don't have that. That's not part of me. Because a lot of my peers, I see this in it, I see what it does. So I say, do I want that? Now, what can I do? And it's easy. It's not easy, but it's just a way of not letting pressure hit you.
So would you say that's your coping mechanism of just?
Yes, I loads.
So when
Family,
if you feel something's down, you try and adapt or change.
There's loads. There's loads of things. It's not just one thing. There's loads of things. What keeps you human, keeps you just grounded. Because what are we here for? We're not here to be this person. Yes, we love music and that, but really and truly, we're not supposed to be giving it all of that. I think it's just about listening, you know, like music used to be. But all of the razzmatazz what's around it, you get caught up in it and you start playing with your mind. So we've done all of that anyway. But yeah, that's how I cope with it.
Wicked.
That was my lows.
And what's your coping mechanism?
Well, I'm only just because I was down for a long time. I think depressed. You know, I was really I had lows. You know, it started with the industry. Really, you know, just at first it was like we were making this music and we're a black group and you know we've been signed, and then things start to kick in from the time we started to go to radio. And then they tell you that no, we don't really want to hear that type of thing. That you have to make a song that Radio 1's going to play. And then we had to start to change up the music. And then it was like, oh man, that was when I first started to hit a couple of low points. And you know, I was getting confused as to how we were going to keep the core fan base satisfied and still make music that Radio 1 would play. And that was an ongoing thing. And then in the end, when I got dropped by the label, that was right. I was finished and I was depressed, you know what I mean? And I was just really lost for about 30 years. I think from the time I was 30 almost till now, nearly 60 years old, you know, I was totally down really. I didn't know how to deal with it. But then the good thing is, now, I don't know, I'm looking back on it and I'm thinking, bloody hell, Carl. Look at that now, that thing that you was running after, because now that I understand the contracts that I signed, right? I just think, wow, what a foolishness, you know what I was going on with. Why would I ever want to go and sign something like that, you know? And when they did dash me out, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm finished. And now you couldn't pay me to go and sign a big contract like that. I'd never sign with a label, a major. Always have to be independent. The contract I got now, I have 80% of my my song, and I own my masters, and it took me a longer way than Noel to get there, you know. Noel had the
and you're now
you got there.
the here and now, isn't it?
For real.
And there's also a reason why we go through the journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody have them journey.
You have a different
Yeah.
journey. We're all here for a reason and a different reason. Everything, I believe in life, everything happens for a reason.
Definitely.
Whether I like it or I don't like it. The same way COVID, we're all trying to question what the hell's going on. You're not supposed to know what's going on. You're supposed to sit your ass down. They pulled the carpet from under your foot. Sit your ass down. Make the best of it. And like Noel said, adapt to the change, because some people they have to come and claim benefits, and they're like, oh my God, how can we live on this? And we've actually, no matter how high fly you were, you've had your carpet pulled, and you've had to adapt to the change.
It's a humbling. It's a humbling.
I had to go.
Yeah.
I had to go and sign on with the. When I signed on, I had the dark glasses on. Take off them glasses. Let me see who you are.
And then or I remember going back to work when I had to go back to work, because I was like,
Yeah.
money finished, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, man, my money's ran out. What can I do now? And I had to go and get another job. And then I just remember the people. Oh my God, I remember you on top of the pumps.
Yeah.
And then they think it's all funny and laugh, because they think, oh, she's working with us. And I should say to them, and so why shouldn't I be here? Because I ain't fickle. I go through it, been there, done that. Like, I shouldn't even flinch. I don't flinch. You're damn right. I've been, and I know how to get up. So I'll just turn around and say to them, and so what? What's the difference? I'm an average Joe blogger like you, and you know I'm grounded. So
your parents, both of you girls, your parents was part of that whole thing.
they were
though.
the members.
They were in the actual.
They're the Mangrove 9. My dad
wow.
and Jamila's dad.
So with the Mangrove 9, they actually fought against the government, right?
The Old Bailey and
Well,
the judicial
yeah,
system.
I mean,
That was the
Regulations.
riots and all that stuff.
Yeah, the
Okay.
protests.
I got caught up in that riot, you know. I was there fighting police, you know.
Right.
Oh, we'll have to have another story with you about that.
Yeah. I was
I'd
fighting
like
the
to hear
police.
that.
Oh,
I mean,
I was on a wall where they were just licking people down off the wall, and it was like, I'm next, you know. I just jumped behind two women and just walked, and then we turned the corner, more police. It was just brilliant, man. We loved it.
Okay.
I remember
Well, it's exciting, isn't it? I was there. You know what? The whole reason why I live here in this area of Lambeth Grove, I've been here for nearly 40 years, yeah? As a kid going to the carnival at 13, 14, the rioting and everything, exciting.
Yeah.
I always said to my mates, we're going to bunk off school and we're going to go Lambeth Grove, but just on a normal day to see what it's like. So we did that. So I walked all around Grove, and I swear, it was a calmer vibe.
Yeah.
And did I know, 20 years later, I moved there in 83.
Wow.
I've been there since. So isn't it amazing how your little mind can think on something, and then years that you're actually there? It's mad.
Yeah.
Wicked area.
Everything happened for a reason. So
Yeah, for real.
But also, what was interesting, even for me, when my dad used to have the office and the home, we used to. I remember 76 riots, because we were in our first.
That was when it was, isn't it?
Yeah, the first podcast we had with the cast of the Mangrove, Stephen Green's Mangrove, relating to our parents. We had Sophia, and she's a Kentish. She's Roddy Kentish's daughter. He's part
one of the Mangrove 9.
Okay.
And it was so ironic talking. Now, I don't know her at all. I didn't know her at all, sorry, until this meeting of the children. And what was interesting and what we shared was in 76, our fathers were, we were out on Port Bella. We were walking up and down Goulburn Road, going down to Port Bella under the bridge. And then I could sense, and I was only 3 and she was about 9, 10. And I could sense that there was something wrong. And I just remember my dad looking down Port Bella, and then you could see the sea of police coming up. And then when Goulburn Road, you could see the sea of our youth coming down, and you knew instantly as you were that it was going to kick off. Yeah. And I remember my dad saying to me, come. I remember him telling somebody who was with a couple of people, the men that was with us, including Sophia.
That was the second riot, isn't it? 76.
Yeah.
Second one, yeah?
But the protest was in 1970. The first one.
Right.
Oh, we had 1958.
The Mangrove 9 trial was based on 1970.
Okay, right.
So 1958 was the original kind of racist attack.
That was with what's his name?
Experience that they had. So from 58, then we went into the 60s, and then the Black Power movement came through.
What his name is now?
Came through. Other affiliations came into the Black Eagles and all the other affiliations that came through. My dad then was the reason why he created Backyard and the Black People's Information Centre, which Godfrey knows, is simply because it was meant to be a hub along every kind of
Right.
area where black people were. So this
Ah,
Liverpool,
that's your
It's
dad.
like the
is it?
Black Citizens Advice.
Black Citizens Advice,
Right.
that's what we
Yes.
started.
Brilliant.
So we had
Brilliant.
we developed the Black Bar Association, Black Bar Lawyers Association, Commission of
Mm.
Racial Equalities. All of that stemmed from backyard and
From her dad's,
Wicked.
Ronan Gordon, Jamila's dad.
All right.
From Ronan Gordon, one of the Mangrove Nine.
That's brilliant. The
What about
Mangrove
your dad?
9. That's a brilliant story, man.
You know,
That's-
Miss-
Yeah, it is.
We're the
Civil rights, isn't it?
The sister, we're the
Yeah.
daughters.
Relations.
Yeah,
So-
that's brilliant, man. That's civil
in our
rights
blood,
of
innit?
our time.
Yeah, but
In our blood.
That's history, yeah. That's how it's.
Yeah.
The point I was making though was the fact that I didn't know Sophia until she was on the actual march.
Right.
Then we went into my dad's business, and then he gave us, basically the men gave the children to the mothers. And then all I remember my dad saying is, "I soon come." That was always the famous West Indian man.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come.
Yeah.
I soon
Or
come.
stop
could be
coming
like-
and come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it?
stop coming, come.
Yeah.
And we didn't see him for the rest of the day. And it got so late that all the mothers had to end up going through the back garden, over walls to get out to Oxford Gardens and to
Oh,
run
wow.
out the area.
Yeah.
And it's only when I was talking to
Wow.
Sophia and I was like, it was you. You were the one that was the other child.
All right. Okay.
It was funny because you think about going to carnival, like you were saying, and growing up in Ladbroke Grove. I just think we just learned to adapt. It wasn't even like it was all right. For me as a child, it's just normal.
Right.
It's just like, okay, something's going to kick off and you just
Yep. Yeah.
have to survive. I remember we would just run. Like I remember my friend Maggie used to live on All Saints Road, just down the side of All Saints Road. We would just
Right.
run into the houses and just stand, and everyone would be panicking, and you'll just be like
Yeah.
at the back waiting, what's going on, wait for it to cool down, get back to normal. Come on, let's go back down there now. It weren't like, oh my
Yeah.
God, run home, that they're, get
Yeah.
out the area. You knew not to run because that's trampede. It was stand back, go into a little house on the wall, hide, wait, let it cool down, go back to what you did.
I've been in all the riots.
And the thing
I was
Yeah.
in Tottenham. I was in Brixton. I've been in all them riots because the Tottenham police actually set me up.
Oh,
I've actually been prosecuted for a crime in a place that I've never seen. I've never been to that place before, and they basically, two men just came up and started racially harassing me, and they were like half drunk as well, and they were trying to press all my buttons. Is it true if you shake a black man's hand, it's got slime on it? And then nothing ever really happened. And then when they saw I weren't taking the bait, one of them pushed me, right? So cut a long story short, it just kicked off, you know what I mean? Altercation, so the one that was nearest to me, that was it. I just buck him and he was done, right? So then the next one tried to do a cow, I don't know why they fight like this, but he tried to run like he's gonna ram me with his head.
a rugby player.
So I swung his head round and he got his head caught in the railings by the bus stop, right? And but when he pulled his face out, he teared off his face, you know what I mean? And
Rotted.
yeah,
You
so
deal with them.
yeah, so when the other one get up now, he just put handcuffs on me. That is, and I was like, oh, come on now. So basically, they wanted to start a fight so that they can arrest me.
Yeah.
And then although they walked with me to the police station and was punching me in my face the whole way and pull out my earring, and I was a mess by the time I got to the petrol station. Then they made me strip naked in the petrol station while they're all around there watching me. And then they kept me in the cell for till about 4:00 in the morning. And they said, "Go on, you can go home now." So then when they send me home, the guy goes to me, "Don't nick any cars on the way out." So on the way home, he goes, "Don't nick any cars." I didn't know what he was talking about. But apparently, because I was learning to drive and I had my dad's car keys, he used to say, if I clean the car, he'd give me a little drive, They built this whole case that I was trying to steal some car.
Yeah, just because you had the keys.
Yeah, and they built this case. I was trying to steal, first of all, a car, and then trying to steal something from a car. They kept changing the charge.
Yeah.
And I had a bad lawyer, and cut long story short, his name was Lord Pitt, I think his name is. And I know why they call him a lord now, because
I swear that I've done a case when I was just
this guy, and he was basically their friend. He was there talking to them, like chatting, and he's an old black man as well. And I was like, wow, okay. So anyway, he because I got beat up and I had all the face scars and all that. He was just trying to win the case on that. He wasn't even trying to convict
The racial
police, yeah.
the whole thing where they set me up. I guess he didn't believe me because it was a very unbelievable story. At the time, you're up against police, you know.
Yeah.
So they said they I tell you, it's so funny. They brought me in the courtroom, and then they brought this brother, a white brother, and they said to him, what is your name? And he said, my name is Dr. Carson, and he's been a doctor. About 15 minutes of this guy's credentials, what he's done, brain surgery, all this stuff. And then they said, do you see the man in the dock? And he says, yes. And they said, have you ever given this man permission to go into your car? So he said, no. So he said, have you ever given this man permission to drive your car? So he says, no. Thank you. And then the whole jury is just looking at me like, you know, and I'm thinking, what? This is a sham. No way. That can't be a witness. I mean, what is that? Right? And that was it. That was all they had. No handprint, no print, no glove, no nothing. I've never ever been to this place in Tottenham in my life, but it's on the way. It's like by Phillip Lane, just opposite the petrol station. There's I'm in the bus station. There's a hospital around the back of one of them back roads there. I've never ever been there myself, but apparently they reckon I was trying to steal this car there. So I actually got a police record off of that. They said, you've obviously come here to tell a pack of lies. So they fined me £250 and said that I was disqualified from driving, even though I didn't have my license yet. So from that day on, when it comes to police, I mean, they licked out all my teeth. And basically,
it seems like that was like the common denominator, wasn't it, for black?
Definitely.
And also the backbone for riots, because
that's right.
So much you can keep.
Of course, we had enough.
Yeah. That was terrible, man. There was, and
they still are. I mean, in certain
exactly
certain things. I mean, for me, what I always say to people, look, you know, I remember, because I mean, again, with the trial, Mangrove trial, this how systemic it is. I remember when my dad gave this closing speech in the Old Bailey. Apparently, you know, newspaper clippings will tell you it's breathtaking. He gave them a whole historical 400 years of slavery and landowners, and this is why we've got to the way we are. And through the landowner laws that they had in the Caribbean, they transferred them back down to when they left the Caribbean. Then they took those laws with them, and these are the same laws that the police are now guided by and governance by. However, because they came through, what was unique about that trial, as Yinka knows, is that they went through, they sacked or they withdrew the government law, and they went to
they used a Magna Carta, so they some of them use the old law, which is Magna Carta, which that means you don't follow the new law.
You don't follow the government. You follow
the government or the legislation. You don't follow it. So you go with the old.
It's the original law, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the original law, common law.
Yeah, the original.
They kind of played them. Some of them had the new solicitors, and some had old, and they kind of played them against them by having two sides of the coin, which was very clever, and very brave back in those days to take on the judicial system, because most black people would be too scared, let alone being that bright to do what they done.
But also ask for you know the all black jury of your peers.
Right.
That's part of the Magna Carta as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you've got the other side of it where, you know, they were very intellectual, our parents, because they were the last generation to be well educated. Right. After that, the whole strategic system of the educational system in terms of England is to dampen down the education in the
working class.
London, where
absolutely
class, you know, and then if we don't understand something, we can't fight what we don't understand.
Right.
You know, so you know, we're learning, we're coming back. You know, we're slowly coming back, and we realize the errors because our children are self-harming on the street and each other. So we know that, you know, we've got to bring back our children. We've got to make them understand the law. We've got to make them understand how to eat healthily. You know, everything is to do with us taking ownership back of everything. Everything that involves life and love, you've got to take it back, and you've got to nurture it. It's all about nurturing as we go into the female aura of the transition of the woman coming back through and kind of cleansing.
Female aura.
Yeah, just cleansing everything, and it's like a restart. So, you know, just like as we give birth to children, you know, their purity, and then obviously they develop what they have to develop, whatever you teach them. It's the same as what the woman does as Mother Earth.
Right.
You know,
Right.
through her womb. I mean, I'll leave you with this one.
Replenish.
My dad said to me, and I always tell this story, but it just makes me laugh when I talk about replenishing, in the sense of, I asked him before, when he got sick with prostate cancer. So men, make sure you check your prostate. I'm going to keep saying that. Anyway, he didn't get his check for 10 years. So by the time they checked it, it was already established that, well established, well on its way to eventually, that's what he died from. And so I said to him when we were having, and you have to have these conversations with your family. Don't wait till the family member dies and then you're just infighting about, what wealth is left behind. Parents should be distributing and talking to their children. This is what I've got. This is what I'm going to leave you. So everybody get everything. There's no, dad gave this one and there's favoritism. And this is what's so negative in our situation, in our family setups in our community. Anyway, so I said to him, so Dad, when you transition, how do you want to transition? How do you want to be remembered? And how, what methodology do you want to use to transition? So in other words, is it burial or is it cremated? And my dad was like, burn my ass!
Oh, wow.
I was like,
okay.
That was very clear.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going with that. So, and then he said to me, don't go and spend no money on coffin, fancy coffin, with cars and this and buff and bath and $2,000 and put me in my African attire. I'm a prince and I'm a king of myself. And make it plain, because these undertakers are making money.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Making money from when we're born till we're dead. They're making money from us. So
That's true.
minimize the amount of glorification of my death. What you want to do is celebrate, and don't wear black. That was another thing for him. That's a European thing. Black is culturally.
Yeah, that's not our thing. That's some look it's a dark 18th century thing, that is.
Yeah, and it's their thing. Anyway, so then I said to him, okay, so, and he said to me, if you have the opportunity, sprinkle my ashes on the Granatang Lake in Grenada. So this is the volcanic lake that we have. So he said, we come from the belly of fire, and the fire is what I'm going back to. I love heat. I came from heat, and I want to go back to heat.
Okay.
And then on top of that, because he's an agriculturalist, my grandfather was one of the landowning families himself. So as far as my dad was schooled in agriculture first and foremost. So as far as he's concerned, that's the most organic way of replenishing our matter and giving our matter back to the environment, so as far as he's concerned, he was looking at every level of the simplicity of how to transition. So I looked at him, I thought, and we did. We got to Granatang Lake, me, my brother, and my sister, and we played some Bob Marley. We saw all the people that he had, Gregory Isaac that came to his flat, all these people that came to his home.
Right.
We played their music. We dropped the brandy. Sorry, fish. Sorry, all the wildlife. We drop our brandy up on there, and and we done our incense and we done our chanting, and we were so happy. And then
That's it.
But on that note, after Jamila's told you her life story, she will. She's a storyteller, as you can see. But she got good stories. So we just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Yes, it's much appreciated. Thank you for your contribution and also the support. We're starting off small, but hey, that's how it goes. It's longevity, as we know, when you start off small, because you don't have to have so many hits. It can be fickle and disappear. So I want to say a big thank you to Carl McIntosh. Thank you very much. Big thank you for coming on the show. A big thank you to Noel McKoy. Big thank you for being on the show. And, is there anything you want to quickly promote, before any new singles coming out, or anything that you want to shout out and let people know about, any websites, anything that they might want to know about yourself quickly before we end the show?
I have nothing at the moment.
I've got a new single coming out. It's called Gonna Make You Mine Forevermore. It's 2 tracks, one segued into another, and it'll be out soon.
Where would they be able to find it? Do you have any?
It'll be on all the platforms. It's going to be on Apple Music. It's also going to be on everything. So.
So you heard that from Carl McIntosh. He's got a new song coming out, Gonna Make You Mine. I can't wait to hear it. Just check out Carl McIntosh. You can find him on Facebook. I think you're on Facebook, Instagram, all those platforms.
Twitter.
So check it out. Keep an eye out. It will be coming out soon. Noel McKoy's got loads of different things out all over social media. So he's just always going. So he never says anything's new. But check out Noel McKoy. McKoy, you can find him.
That's true, you know.
So much songs,
Always,
one after
always.
the other, after the other. So he doesn't even know himself when he's releasing stuff. So he can't He's also working with the British Collective. So that's with Omar Donny. And all those guys that are soon to got stuff. I know more about Noel than Noel when he's got new stuff coming out. He's got new stuff coming out with the British Collective.
He never stops putting that stuff.
Right? Because he's just ongoing, like he said. So he doesn't even.
Music for just let off, man. Hey, Carl, you want so much music? What I found that's cassettes.
Really?
I just pulled out I got a lovely Kenwood double take machine. Just had it in there. Just like that, so I'm taking it up in listening to the tunes. When I started, bro, I was crying. That's what I've been doing the past.
You have been
2
busy,
weeks.
so
he's been unraveling all his past. So for the truth, he's had enough time in COVID to be taken out.
Music is emotional, you know what I mean?
It is, because it's not about what you wrote. Oh my God, did I write them lyrics back then? God, that's deep. I didn't know I was that deep at that age.
Surprise yourself.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I just want to say a big thank you to my sister Jamila.
all right.
As always.
And I hope to see you guys on the other side in real
Thank you to
person.
you.
Lovely to meet you again and have another talk. And good luck to everybody in the future. But not even good luck, you're going to make it happen. Okay?
Thank you, Yinka.
Make
Thank you.
sure, and there's always auntie up here now, make sure you look after your health. Very important. The rest is all academic if you don't look after your health.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Self-care.
All right, then. See you later.
On
No.
that, take
All
care
right,
of
keep
yourself,
calm,
be safe,
Love Jamila.
and we'll see your
Noel
stuff
Carl.
soon, and we'll hopefully speak to you again soon. Take care of yourselves.
All right.
Bye. And remember, the next generation of the Mangrove 9, thank you for watching our show. Thank you for the support. You can find us on the next generation of the Mangrove 9 website, also YouTube channel and Instagram. Please subscribe and like and share. Without your support, we can't make it happen. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Good night, and God bless. Bye. Peace and love.
Baby, gray skies to